I am happy to declare that I am 100% certain that God exists. I am at least as certain that God exists as I am that I exist. I know that for viewers who have had no revelation of the reality of God, such certainty will be hard to understand and accept, but I will offer a few reasons as to why I am so confident. I will offer two types of argument for the existence of God, which I will categorise as logical and experiential. Let's start with the logical arguments. Firstly, I would point out that there are many examples of how the activity that we witness in creation is highly coordinated. Within the human body, for instance, there are millions of complex interactions working in harmony. The occurrence of such complex yet harmonious events must mean something is able to coordinate what is going on in my heart, brain, stomach and feet all at the same time. That something is God. More evidence that God exists is that we grow from nothing into human beings. We never make a decision to grow from a baby to a child to an adult. Something causes this process to happen. For me, scientific ideas like genetics and evolution do not explain this process of growth in a satisfying way, as they both present a view of reality where the past leads to the future, which in reality is not the case. I will have more to say about that in a future video, but just to summarise, instead of our biological processes being somehow determined by the past, I believe there is a power operating in the present moment which causes these processes to happen. That power is God. I'm not convinced that the brain is some kind of a machine that powers the rest of the body, because if that were the case, what is the cause of the brain's own activity? You might say, I am causing my brain to coordinate the millions of processes that are going on in my body, but I hope you can see the absurdity of this position. You certainly cannot say how you are controlling your brain and bodily processes. So perhaps your brain is controlling you? This is equally absurd. How could you attribute to a lump of grey matter the ability to write books or symphonies, or plan a holiday, or fall in love? Any deep-thinking person must admit there is more to life than a series of mechanical processes brought about by a lump of squishy tissue. Also, if you were under the control of some kind of brain machine, I would have to question whether you really exist at all. We don't normally attribute consciousness to machines, and I believe it is illogical to do so, as machines are inherently predictable, whereas consciousness is not. It is obvious that I am not controlling my brain, and my brain is not controlling me. How do I then explain my actions? The solution is that a spiritual being, which I like to call God, is animating all of the processes that lead to my experience of the body and the world in which I exist. As well as there being sound logical arguments for the existence of God, there are also experiential arguments. For instance, I am certain that God exists because God talks to me, and I will elaborate on the way in which God talks to me in a future video. Another reason why I am certain that God exists is because I have witnessed many supernatural events. On one occasion, a friend of mine prayed for a stranger in the street to be healed of the pain that he was experiencing throughout his body. He had crutches and was clearly suffering. Following the prayer, the man revealed with a look of shock upon his face that the pain had completely gone. This was an obvious sign of immediate divine intervention, and I've witnessed many such healings. I fully understand that if God has not given you a revelation of his reality, then of course you will not believe in him. I used to be an atheist and was happy to direct ridicule at the apparent fairy tales of faith. But I am a living testimony of the fact that God reveals himself to people unexpectedly, and that it's possible to go from 100% atheist to 100% theist. I believe that the reason why God reveals himself to some people and not others is that this is all part of his plan for creation, which I like to describe as God's grand game. This concept will be explored in depth in the coming weeks. Everyone has a role to play in this game, and I believe it's highly likely that everyone will come to a knowledge of God at some point, although in many cases this may be after death. At the present time I enjoy an intimate personal relationship with God, which involves conversation on a daily basis and an awareness of his existence almost continually. If you're a skeptic, you may question the veracity of these experiences, but that will all change one day if you're fortunate enough to have the living God reveal himself to you too. In the next video, we will look a little more closely at the idea that God is coordinating all activity in existence. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. This video series accompanies my new book titled God's Grand Game, which is available from all major retailers. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe and ring the bell to be notified of future videos.